No weekend games, so we don't lose any weekends, which is nice. But it's the only thing that's not nice is hard to bring people who aren't city people.
Yep.
Because it's a weeknight.
Unless they stay the night at one of our apartments.
If they really want to.
I mean, the only person we could never get to do that was Katsu.
Mm.
Even when he'd like stay late at a game, we're like, no, I'm gonna take my 3-hour bus home. I guess that's streaming. And we appear to be live, so I guess let's just do it. It's Wednesday, July 26, 2017. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights tonight, Castlevania. On Netflix.
The not anime.
The Netflix one.
You watched all 4 episodes?
Yep.
Okay.
So my whole life, I don't like wearing shoes. Like, that's just a thing. I really would rather just not have shoes on. But at the same time, I don't want the bottoms of my feet to be covered in poop, shall we say.
I just don't like wearing uncomfortable or painful shoes, so I always wear the most comfortable shoe, and I don't wear an uncomfortable shoe ever.
But the most comfortable kind of foot covering is probably the sandal, the high-quality sandal. I'm a big fan of wearing the sandal.
No, the most comfortable shoe covering is a sneaker that is extremely squishy and light.
But that is not optimal if it's hot outside.
I don't really have a problem of overheating feet.
It's so much more comfortable. Like, if I'm wearing sandals, I could even get away with wearing pants instead of shorts. That's how profound a difference that is.
I don't have this problem.
Also, the sandal is just chill. It's airy. Your feet are hanging out there. They get tanned like the rest of you.
I don't have this problem.
Anyway, I really like sandals. And I'm really particular about my sandals because I don't like flip-flops. I think they're...
No, I hate any sandal where the thing goes between your big toe and the next toe.
Toe shoes are fine, but that's because it literally is like a glove on your foot.
No. That a toe shoe is fine, at least in that regard.
Yeah, it's a glove on your foot. It's not like a like a
if
flip-flop.
you're using this spoke that goes between your big toe and your second toe as a means of keeping the shoe on the foot, it means you sort of have to squeeze those toes together a little bit.
You have to walk with a weird gait, which I've read articles. There is evidence that walking long distances in flip-flops causes specific harm.
Right. There's a podiatrist wouldn't recommend it, right?
Yeah.
It is not comfortable. It is painful. A flip-flop is pretty much only an emergency device to cross a short distance on a hot sand and then remove them.
Or to like go out to a garbage chute.
Sure.
Like
or
walk out into a hallway.
To go into a shower that might have a fungus in it, perhaps a shared locker room type environment shower.
Because pool shoes are kind of garbagey. I used to use pool shoes, and those are not great.
No.
And
I don't even know if they make those anymore.
They're if there is a place in the world for Crocs to exist, it might be that shower situation.
Yes, but no other situation.
No other situation. But anyway, my issue is that if I wear sandals, I want my foot to be basically completely exposed, but it has to have the 3 straps, 2 in the front and 1 around the heel. If it doesn't go around the heel, it's worthless because you still have to walk weird to keep them on your foot.
See, I don't have this problem. I have the sandal with just 2 straps.
I don't like it.
But it is, essential. There are many sandals that do not have the 3rd strap that will fall off your foot, right?
Yeah.
The point is, no matter what the mechanism, I don't care about a specific mechanism or whatever, but it has to be a sandal that is securely remains on your foot on its own so that you do not have to adjust your walking or your foot position. You can just walk the same way you walk in a tied shoe.
Yep.
Right? And just go.
I like the 3 straps. And
my 2 strap just stays on just fine. I can walk normally in it.
But so the difference is I can walk in the 2 straps just fine, but if I run or something comes up, there's a chance it'll pop off.
I guess
try running in your sandal.
There's a possibility,
with the 3 straps.
It doesn't bother me.
You can just run. But anyway, I bought some Birkenstocks because they seem to be like the only brand that has
hipster brand
3-strap sandals anymore.
You can buy them from plenty of brands.
Yeah, so no, on Zappos there were almost no 3-strap sandals.
Anyway,
like none.
I'm sure
So 5 years ago, in April, so a little more than 5 years ago, I bought some Birkenstock sandals with the 3 straps.
Hipster sandals.
Only today, 5+ years later, have they worn out enough to where they are no longer wearable.
Aren't they supposed to last like a lifetime or whatever? They have some kind of warranty. Isn't that why the hipsters are all into them? Like,
I don't know. They were
you
cheap.
break them in over the course of years, like wine.
No, they broke in basically immediately. They were fine.
The Birkenstock, it lasts forever. Your whole life, you wear this one.
I never
sandal.
encountered any of that. But they blues brothered on me. Like every part of them failed at once. And I looked because I could have gotten before I
you
like
broke
wore
them on
them out.
purpose because you wanted to buy a new sandal.
No, actually, I don't like new sandals because I like the collected grease of my foot over 5 years makes it like it perfectly is formed to my feet.
Yeah, no.
But they blues brothered. They completely fell apart. And I looked. It would cost me from even like one of those crapo cobblers in like a subway station, $40 or $50 to resole them.
Aren't you supposed to take them to the actual Birkenstock company?
I don't know.
They have like a award. There's like a thing they do. There's like that's their mystique or whatever.
I didn't even think I didn't encounter that. I had these sandals. I wore them out because I used the hell out of them.
Do some Googling.
5+ years. So cobblers like $40, $50 to resole them. But I can just buy brand new ones for only a little bit more than that, and thus get around all the issues, the fact that I've beaten the heck out of them out of the years. So I think I'm going to buy new sandals every 5 years for the rest of my life. Maybe when I'm old, it'll be 10 years because I won't walk around as much. We'll see. So anyway, it's Wednesday. It's comic day. It's not sandal day. We already did an episode on shoes a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So what's your news?
Well, there was tons and tons of huge news from the San Diego Comic-Con.
Like Matt Groening is doing a new show, and Ready Player One. Like people are flipping out about how bad that thing is.
I mean, it was so weird, right? It felt like when Ready Player One was a new hot thing that we were the only ones going, but now everyone's going,
Well, I think what happened.
Everyone learned from us? Is it we're the
Someone else described this in detail in a Twitter conversation, but to summarize, because I think they're dead on, it became really popular because it was in that loot crate or whatever.
Is that really the reason it became popular?
Many
is there
people have said this. I haven't been able to verify it.
Is there really
yet.
evidence of this?
I haven't been able to verify
remember
it
back,
yet.
we were like living in Beacon even, and like some, listeners told us to read this, and I heard it was one of those things, you know how I do that when I see something getting lots and lots of buzz and people can't shut up? Then I go and check it out.
Like Madoka Magica. That's why we checked that out.
Exactly.
People wouldn't shut up.
I read the whole goddamn book way back for that reason.
I mean, I quit in the middle of Dragon's Gold, Serpent Silver, Chimera's Copper, and yet you finished this?
I mean, it was very easy and quick to read. It took me like a couple days.
But Scott, it diminishes the soul.
Not really. But at least now no one can tell me, oh, you haven't read it. I can freely swing Scott's stick of judgment with and anyone who says, did you even read this? I'll say, yeah, I read the whole fucking thing. Whack. It's a piece of garbage.
But basically what they said was that when it suddenly got really popular, the only people who were talking about it were the kinds of people that it was aimed at. Like, the demographic it was perfectly suited for were the people who were doing all the reviews and all the talking.
The impression that I had back when I read it in those days when it was getting buzz was that everyone in the world seemed to be in freaking love with this thing except me. And then now, when I look at Twitter now, and it's pretty much, I have seen just only negative. I've not seen a single positive comment. The only positive comment is I was talking to a nerd that I am only slightly acquainted with in person, and I was like, yeah, that sucks. And they were like, what? What? And then that same person also I think they subscribed to Loot Crate, and also
all right, that's 2 strikes.
And also we went to the Lego store and I ogled like that Apollo rocket and didn't buy it. They actually bought like 3 Lego things, one of which is Ninjago.
Ooh, yeah.
But,
actually, it's probably good. I haven't been to the Lego store in a long time because I think I would just start buying Lego. And I don't know if
I was at the Lego store. The only thing you want at the Lego store is the Saturn V Apollo moon rocket. It's only $120. The problem is it will not fit in your apartment. You need to find someone else to keep it for you. But it functions perfectly. Like the little lander pops off, turns around, and docks the other way. It has all the stages.
If I had a 3-bedroom apartment, there'd be a room that was the rabbits and Lego room, and that's all that'd be in there.
Are rabbits Lego safe?
I think rabbits actually have a hard time biting Legos because they're real powerful.
I'm not worried about hurting the rabbit. I'm worried about hurting the Lego.
The Lego would be up on tables, I think, like train tables.
And then it falls down, and then rabbit chokes. No.
Rabbits are experts at biting things, so I feel like they could bite them and come out unharmed.
We'll see. You don't want to swallow them.
But basically, yeah, from what I gathered, there was this wave of people, like all the early waves of people who were reading that book were like the kinds of people who would love that completely non-introspective, like regurgitative pablum aimed at the most pandering of panders.
The people who go woo when the woo game happens at a convention.
I mean, there's
the
that
people
one,
who wait in line for swag in the PAX dealer's room.
There's that screenshot someone keeps
The
posting
people
on
who
Twitter.
wait in line for an Anime Con dealer's room to open.
This screenshot has hit my feed easily 40 times.
The person
in the
who
last
buys
few
alternate
weeks.
covers to comic books.
And it's just like one page from Ready Player One, and it's just literally lists of proper nouns from Wikipedia from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Also, as people pointed out, like none of that stuff was things that like women made. It was no like black music. It was just like white boy music. Like there's so many problems with Ready Player One. And I think just recently, because the movie's being made, people who aren't that demographic looked at it and said, "What's going on in here? What's this?"
Yeah, the funniest thing is the people distributing that that I guess tirade of about porn that the author wrote.
Oh, I saw that. But
Basically reminding you what kind of person the author of Ready Player One is, which is disgusting. Anyway, so anyway, here's some real news from San Diego Comic-Con. So back in the day, there was Vertigo Comics, right? Vertigo Comics was an imprint, which means it's really DC Comics. It's the same exact, company, but they put a different label on it because this ain't Superman, it ain't Batman, right? It's other stuff, right?
You can't scare the Superman people away.
Right. So they just put a different label on it, and it's managed by, it has its own editor, its own staff and stuff, and they work separately, right, with their own label, but money-wise, they're owned the same part of the same company. So Vertigo still exists, but the thing is, back in the day, the editor of Vertigo, the person in charge, was this woman named Karen Berger. Berger? I don't know if the G is hard or soft. It doesn't matter. And she was responsible for publishing many of the greatest American comics ever, right? We're talking V for Vendetta. We're talking Sandman, Preacher, Fables, fucking Why the Last Man, like fucking everything.
There's good stuff in here.
Right? Vertigo Comics was like the greatest, right? It's like if Vertigo came out with a new book, like I would just get issue number 1 just to see what it was, because if they're publishing it, it's probably something good, right? So what happened is there was some drama or whatever. She was kicked out and or left, and she disappeared. And since then, Vertigo has just been like publishing nothing. Like they still exist, they still put books out, but a lot of them are just reprints and garbage that no one really cares about. And like they're still in the catalog, but they may as well be dead, right? It may as well not exist anymore. That's sad times, right? But Image Comics, since then, has been publishing all the good shit, like the Sagas and the Descenders of the world, right? Things that may have been Vertigo if they had been published 10, 15 years ago are now all at Image, right? But this gives us a problem, because without Vertigo, there's not really a lot of competition for Image, right? You got Marvel and DC are doing underwear perverts only, right? Japan, those publishers are in a different country. IDW, which used to do good stuff, is now sort of like only doing licensed stuff, right? Ponies, Transformers, G.I. Joes. They just got Sonic the Hedgehog from Archie, which
actually that stuff is generally actually pretty good, but it's not this kind of comic.
That stuff raised IDW from being sort of an indie tiny publisher to being like big time publisher, right?
Actually, I really want to read Mask.
Sure.
I just haven't yet. I've been busy.
Go for it. There'll probably be trades soon.
Yeah.
So anything that's like a licensed nerd property that's not owned by Disney or Warner DC is over at IDW, right? All the Hasbro things, all that stuff. So the only other really big American comics publisher, that's super big, right? There's like some medium-sized ones like Boom and stuff where you get your mouse guards or things like that, like whatever. But is Dark Horse. And Dark Horse is mostly doing mangas, Hellboys. I think they have like Alien, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, those sorts of things, right? And they just been sort of quietly over there on the side, doing their thing, not getting a lot of attention. But now, big news, Karen Berger, who ran Vertigo back in the day, has signed up with Dark Horse, and they're going to make Dark Horse Berger books. Just first of all, totally deservedly, she just gets her name on the fucking thing.
Yep.
Right?
What that means seal of approval / endorsements.
Right. So this is actually not new news. We knew this was coming like some months ago, but now at Comic-Con they actually announced the initial books that are coming out. So they got Hungry Ghosts by Anthony Bourdain.
The cover alone.
All right, the chef Anthony Bourdain, which is, I guess, I know that that's the name of a famous chef. I don't know anything else about it, but I just know that that is the name of a famous chef person, and it's about food. But yeah, you can tell by the cover, the only name on the cover that I care about is Paul Pope, like one of my favorite artists of all time. He doesn't do a lot of stuff, but like anything he does, he's like Midas touch of artwork. Like, and you can tell his artwork from like 10 miles away. Like no one draws like him anywhere. So
is that just Maya from Eccentric Family?
I don't know.
With his ramen shop in hell.
Right. The other thing that is interesting is the Seeds, right, by Ann Nesenti and David Aja. So I know who David Aja is. That's a familiar name I've heard before, right? So that's going to be really interesting. You've got this thing called The Originals, right? So The Originals has the artist from Watchmen, not Alan Moore, who's probably, who knows what the hell he's doing. Rolling around in some mud somewhere. I don't know.
What is Alan Moore up to?
No, he's probably one of those retired, unretired, who knows what he's doing.
He confirmed he's retiring from comic books last year.
Sure, whatever, Alan Moore. No one cares, you're old man. But Dave Gibbons, the other Watchmen guy, is starting a series called The Originals, and the cover looks like fucking Watchmen art because it's the same fucking guy.
Yep.
You got this thing, Mata Hari. I guess it's about the real Mata Hari? I don't even know. And this other thing called Incognito Renaissance, which looks like mafia dudes.
Incognito. It's a very specific period thing.
I couldn't tell from it's hard to read that word.
I've seen this one in particular has been getting a lot of buzz in my feed lately.
I don't know. I'm just looking at the name. Like I don't know who Matt Johnson and Warren Police are, but that doesn't matter because I know who Karen Berger is. So I'm gonna buy all of these books, issue number 1, to see which ones are legit.
So we basically just outlined a bunch of Geek Nights episodes that are coming up.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, we'll probably do one episode with all number 1s.
Oh
right?
yeah.
And then so forth, right? And then like when I'm sure these won't be the only books this imprint publishes, right? They're gonna figure out which ones succeed, which ones fail, which ones are limited, which ones keep going forever, right? They'll end, new ones will come up, but this is like, comic book publisher to watch. If it has this name on it from Dark Horse, it's worth at least checking it out.
Yep. I just the covers of all these alone, I'm interested. If I saw these at some Comic-Con and I didn't know anything, I'd probably pick them all up.
Mm-hmm.
So really quick news, because this like shockingly happened, and I saw Twitter freaking out about it. I guess United Airlines just randomly started telling people trying to fly home from San Diego Comic-Con.
Isn't United Airlines the one, like every airline
Airlines is the one that's,
every single airline has bad stories about it in the news all the time, but United is the one with the most bad and most frequent bad stories.
Well, so I would say that Spirit is still a worse airline by every measure.
I mean, probably, but it's not in the news for being, it's just generally bad. But
I've been boycotting United for most of my life because
but we're talking about
of the times I tried to fly with them.
Right, we're like Spirit Airlines is just generally shitty. That's like taking a Greyhound bus. It's just generally shitty. But United has specific horrific incidents that are frequently newsworthy. Right?
But in this case, they basically started telling people that the TSA said you can't check comic books in your checked bags, and that was egregious enough to even the TSA, which is an organization that I despise with literally every fiber of my being. Even they were like, no, that is not true. WTF.
This is probably just one relatively low-ranking employee doing a thing at that one airport in San Diego, just like meh. Just because. Who knows why they thought of doing this, but they just did for whatever reason.
So all these nerds showed up at the airport, and I have sort of there's a buried lead in this story I'll get to in a second. But I guess a buried barb is a better better way to put this. But they had all these signs, Comic-Con attendees, remove all books from checked bags. And a lot of people who go to Comic-Cons
buy a lot of fucking books.
Literally, like, bring extra luggage and fill their luggage.
That is nothing but books. 100% book.
My barb is simply, why are you buying so many comics at a Comic-Con? They're not cheaper there. This isn't like Silver Age, Silver Surfer at Wizard World from a discount bin.
Well, the thing is, actually, if you actually...
Unless you're getting weird exclusive signed, I guess. But how many?
A nerdy guy, right? So if you're the kind of nerd who you only care about comic books, and you like the floppy, shitty kind, right? Or even the trade paperback kind. If you go to comic conventions and you're buying stuff that isn't brand new and isn't super old or rare, but is just sort of like, like a trade paperback that came out 2 years ago and that they made too many copies and didn't sell them all. It's like, if you try to buy those online, they're not going to be like $2. But at the convention, there's some comic store that's dealing there that's just, oh my God, please, I want to get rid of this inventory. And they're selling it for $2.
Yep.
So if you buy a large quantity of that stuff, you can reach an economic point to where the price of your Comic-Con badge, the travel, the hauling, and if you're actually going to read it all,
yeah, of course. So
comes into play.
I can spin that back around. If you had to fly to get to San Diego Comic-Con, that threshold is significantly higher.
Mm-hmm. You have to save at least the $50 that you're spending on the extra checked bag.
Also, books ain't light, and there's limits on how heavy bags can be.
Indeed. It's probably cheaper. For the $50 of the checking bag, you could probably spend $40 at the FedEx.
So my only guess is what actually happened here is that someone maybe was trying to troll comic nerds and worked at United.
That's possible.
And purposefully misinterpreted a TSA guideline to do this to cause havoc for the lulz. That's my guess.
Oh, there's definitely
That's
lots.
plausible,
There
right?
are lots and lots of incidents where individual employees have the power to do something, but the thing happens. It's no one outside knows why or how or who. And it's just like it causes a bigger deal than than the person who did it thought it would cause.
Nope.
Right? And then it's just like, oh shit. And then once it becomes a deal, the whole company finds out about it, and now you're fired.
Yeah. All right. That's good. Nothing's the day. We got like 20 people watching. Everyone's excited about Castlevania. Oh, 19. We lost one just a second ago.
Smart person.
Ted Hahn just gave us $2 to say Kappa.
Ted Hahn, don't you have anything better to do with your $2?
He just said, and I quote, "This is the dumbest thing I have ever done."
Yes, it is.
And I do not regret it.
You should regret it. You could have bought a really fucking good bagel or 2 average bagels and eaten them. You could have bought like a sack of delicious peaches that are in season.
Like I kind of keep an eye on this chat like while doing the show, but that money chat like pops up like.
If someone gives money, that's how
Yeah.
With that $2, you could have bought 2 iPhone apps that would have occupied you for a very long time with their mindless tapping and cute pictures, right? You could have bought a pack of cards for your favorite card game. Instead, you bought Rim nothing because Rim's not even going to collect that money.
$2 wouldn't even buy a Fallen Empires booster.
That money is going to sit digitally
Fallen
in like
Empires
Rim's
booster was $2.95.
AdSense account, uncollected for moons, being completely unused.
Yep. So
you just gave that money to Google effectively.
We'll get on the to
collect interest on.
But he pointed out this is all a lie because there are no good bagels where he lives.
You could have used that $2 into your savings to move.
To try to get to New York.
To try to move somewhere where you don't live because you live in a bad place.
All right, let's do it.
And you're not going to be able to leave that bad place if you keep spending your money like that. You're going to need that to pay rent over here.
But anyway, things of the day. What do you got?
So, hockey comes in many varieties, and we enjoy almost all of those varieties. The field kind.
I'm not a big fan of field hockey.
Oh, the deck kind.
Deck hockey's okay.
The ice kind.
Yep. Roller hockey is the only hockey I played any serious amount in my life.
So it's rather difficult for a normal person to play a lot of these kinds, right? Ice kind is the hardest, even though it's the most common. Not only do you need to know how to skate,
but you need a venue.
You need to know how to skate backwards. You need to have ice, and you need to have equipment. It's like it's a rich person's game, like
now,
fucking polo.
Skill-wise,
I guess polo is more expensive because you need a fucking horse, and a horse costs more than hockey equipment.
Skill-wise,
it has to be maintained.
Ice hockey is way easier than roller hockey because rollerblades, like the not really designed for that. Playing that sport the way hockey gets played doesn't work the same way.
But anyway, roller hockey is at least more accessible if you want to just try.
You see,
because rollerblades are cheaper. You don't need ice. Right? You know, the equipment is less, etc.
You just need a street.
Right? But the point is, almost all varieties of hockey, except sticks, no regular shoes on feet, and nets with a ball, is really inaccessible, right? So there was a type of hockey that I just discovered today that
I want to play this real bad.
that I'd never seen before. And this type of hockey is a little bit less accessible than the other kinds, right? Than, say, just ball, feet, and whatever.
I'd have to buy a few things.
But it is not out of the reach and does not, most importantly, does not require any skills of skating or rolling or anything like that. And this is soap hockey.
It requires balance.
Basically, make a giant rectangular slip and slide. I know a slip and slide is rectangular, but it needs to be wider than that, right? A big wide slip and slide. And rather than having water rushing down it, you make it flat and cover it in soap, liquidy, soapy water, so it's fucking slippery as hell.
And then just try to play hockey with these tiny nets.
You put 2 tiny nets, balls, and plastic sticks, and you get out there and you play hockey and you fall on your ass.
As Grover just pointed out, ankle injury the game.
Yes, it is ankle injury the game, but that's fine. I'm fine with ankle injury the game. I am just not as it's safer than skiing. It's even safer than biking in the street.
I would argue this is way less safe than skiing.
Listen, the chances of being injured doing this
way higher
are
than skiing.
Probably higher than skiing safely. I agree. But if you have an injury skiing, you're probably going to break a leg or crack your head open. If you have an injury, the almost guaranteed injury of doing this is like sprain your ankle. Big deal.
I feel like cracked heads are a real possibility. Lost teeth.
Hey,
a fight.
I think those are really unlikely.
Running on slick surfaces, swinging sticks around.
I think you sort of shuffle. If you try to run, it's not going to go well for you.
I still want to play it.
I absolutely would play this. If anyone wants to donate a big flat lawn, doesn't mind it getting ruined by soap and being covered and trampled upon, and I'll get the nets and sticks and balls on Amazon if you take care of the rest.
So I've been following a lot of different YouTube channels talking about like archaic technology, mostly from the 60s, 70s, 80s. Mm-hmm. And Techmoan is pretty good, but this video is really interesting because there's an area of technology I've been very interested in myself lately, and that is, think about a task that you do today with computers, basically, and then realize that the task itself was done by professionals before computers were widespread, and then try to figure out how the hell they did it. Like, how did a soundboard work before you could just have, like, wave files on a computer? Like, how did a DJ just make a particular sound play suddenly by hitting a button? And the answer is, for many cases, from the 60s through the 90s.
Didn't just have lots of tapes?
Yeah, but even so, tapes aren't that accurate. They don't have, like, cue points. At least cassette tapes don't, like standard cassette tapes.
No, they had fancy tapes, like DAT tapes and shit.
No, so DAT tapes didn't solve this. They used something called a broadcast cart machine.
Okay.
And the tapes are spooled the same way that 8-tracks are.
All right.
And the main reason these were important was that they'd play forever. You could not rewind them, but you could always play them forever in a loop.
Oh, it would go back to the beginning.
Yeah. You know how that works? You ever see like an endless tape and wonder how those work?
Yes.
So, because all 8-track, you realize 8-tracks are all like this too. You could never rewind an 8-track. You can only play forward.
Yep. And
8-tracks actually did have 8 tracks, and there was a predecessor, the 4-track. I had an 8-track system that I played with a lot as a kid, and I kept repairing because it broke. So I actually know a lot about 8-tracks. But anyway, broadcast cart is the way, like, if you were at an event or you were a DJ and you needed sounds and jingles and things to be able to be queued up. The difference between any other tape mechanism of the era was that it could start playing and stop playing nearly instantly, which is not like ever try to pause a VCR at an exact spot. It's actually real hard.
Well, do you like preset it with start and stop points or something?
You can manually start and stop it, and it's like instant. And it also has a mechanism for the machine queuing up the next sound that's on the tape.
Couldn't you also? I mean, this is probably not the best way to do it, but it's possible, right? Since tape is a loop, you get a really short tape that plays a tiny loop over and over and over again, and is always playing. And you just turn it down on the mixer, and then when you want to hear it, you just mix it up and mix it down.
I mean, yeah, oftentimes at an event you'll do a loop track like that, and so in this video they have a giant tape that he finds that's like super super long, and he basically
that one is really long.
He repairs it to figure out what the hell was on it, and
he has the machine to play it.
Yeah, this channel is all about having the machines for this nonsense.
Oh, okay,
but yeah, that is a thing that some people would do. But this is a really interesting video talking about the very challenging problem of doing that kind of thing before computers existed that we kind of just take for granted now.
I guess you could also do it with vinyl if you knew the exact spot to put the needle. You put it, take it off real fast, but you have to be really skilled.
But also vinyl doesn't really start playing immediately because you're going to get that scratch noise when you put the needle down.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would. That's right.
Yeah, no one used vinyl for that.
They have nowadays. I've heard that there are some record players that will use a laser and not a needle to optically read the record.
So I learned about those.
Basically means it's a CD at that point.
Yep, except worse quality because vinyl is not actually that high fidelity. Jesus, do not even fight me.
I don't understand why people are so hype on vinyl. Even still, I keep seeing in my Twitter feed occasionally someone's like, "Oh man, bought a new vinyl." I'm like, "What the fuck?"
And if your argument is you're
record company starts producing more vinyl, it's like, people, it's garbage.
If you're into the cool old technology, the weird old tape stuff is way more interesting.
This is cool, but we're not gonna buy any of these ever.
Though also, I would point out that the end run of analog cassettes, the height that technology got to before they're obsoleted by CDs, is nearly indistinguishable from CD quality. If you got Dolby S going on, it's just the CDs sort of displace that too quickly. But anyway, I digress. Otherwise, in the meta moment, the book club book is...
Oh, the fifth season. So not winter, not spring, not summer, not fall.
But Smarch.
Another season. Smarch is a month. It's not a season. Another season, the fifth season by N.K. Jemisin. It's the hottest shit fantasy novel going on, and I'm going to read it as soon as I finish reading about that there unholy consult.
Yep,
and
Prince
the
Nothing
evils
book came.
They are perpetuating in the Ark of Golgotha.
In the shadow of Golgotha, the Ark of Man is having knives used on it.
That is how it be. That is how it be.
Quite literally.
Princes of not much and less.
Horses being broken left and right.
Man, he who breaks horses is actually broken less horses than everyone else in this book so far.
Yeah,
I'm disappointed. Not one horse broken by the official horse breaker, but many horses broken by others who wouldn't even know how to break a horse. Right? They're mere amateurs compared to the true master of horse breaking.
Otherwise, the next convention we're going to be at is PAX West. The mothership PAX.
The ticket. I just remembered. In my bag over there in the other room, I have tickets to the real PAX.
Oh, they came.
The badges, not the stinking ones you don't need. The
ones
ones you need very badly.
Badges, yes, you definitely need badges.
That's right. They are in the mail. They have arrived. Don't lose them because you're not using them for a few more weeks.
But we will be there on Sunday, which is the third of the 4 days.
We're going to be there on all of the days.
But we will be there on Sunday doing a panel on rage quitting and butthurt rage and all those sorts of topics. And I think it'll be fun. It's going to be awesome, and also something very important.
Yeah, also one of our friends and listeners of the longest time, the Ro.
Ro was a listener who, when we said, hey, we're going to be at a PAX, isn't that cool? Back in 2008, when we were still spring chickens, she picked us up at the airport, didn't serial kill us, and drove us to our hotel.
Right, and now, after so many PAXs, she has been accepted as the Omega Knot. So that means we're going to be going to not just the final Omegathon round as usual, but every round unless Ro loses.
We're making shirts.
And then we'll just be going to the last round.
I'm going to make a shirt.
We're going to make a lot of shit. So you should, if you want to see us, come to the Omegathon round and also help us cheer for Ro so she win.
So yeah, let's get right into it.
Because, that would make this PAX, even more epic than usual. It's already, up a level, but she win, that's, up 10 levels.
Well, think of it this way. If she wins... one, that means that she'll go to PAX Australia.
We're all going to go to PAX Australia.
Yeah. But two, the after PAX feast, while it will not be in the most wonderful bathroom that we've ever seen, it'll be somewhere. And imagine
we'll go to the fancy restaurant instead of the regular restaurant. We'll go to the fanciest place we can find.
Yep, it'll be a feast of celebration.
Like a place that costs mad monies. Mad monies.
The meat.
That's right.
So yeah, so. If you didn't hear, Netflix made a 4-episode TV series animated of Castlevania 3.
Is it Castlevania 3, really? Curse of Dracula?
You didn't... Did.
I thought it was just Castlevania generic.
So you didn't notice Alucard and Sypha? The only person we didn't see that we need to see to make it fully Castlevania 3 is Grant, and I assume he's going to be there in the next season.
I thought that Alucard isn't until like PlayStation he shows up.
Did you ever play Castlevania 3?
I didn't beat it.
Did you ever get a character other than Trevor Belmont?
I don't think so.
You realize the whole shtick with that game was that you run into Sypha, Alucard, and Grant, depending on the routes you take through Dracula's castle. And
I think I'm going to have to go back and play Castlevania 3 because all I know about Castlevania 3 is it's a lot like Castlevania 1 style, not Castlevania 2 style.
There's a big, it's kind of a hybrid of the two.
There's a big hullabaloo about the audio in that game because the Japanese cartridge had a much better sound chip and better, amazing, incredible music considering it was an NES game.
Yep.
And the American cartridge had crap music by comparison.
So Scott,
although pretty good by comparison to other crap NES games.
You can play as all these different characters, and there's different endings.
All right, well, I guess I'm going to go emulate and beat Castlevania 3 then.
I don't think you will.
You don't think I will?
Castlevania 3...
How hard could it be?
Might be the hardest Castlevania that was ever released in the United States.
It cannot be.
Castlevania 1 is
also, I'm going to play the Japanese version because I want that better sound.
The Japanese version is easier by most accounts.
I just want the better audio. What?
Will your emulator do that?
Yeah, why not?
Well, you sure it will?
Yeah.
Make sure your emulator supports that weird chip.
It will definitely support it. What year is it?
Anyway, I can't believe you did. So yeah, this is literally one of the first times in human history that a television show or movie was made based directly on a video game, and it was good.
Why did they choose Castlevania 3 specifically? And not say Symphony of the Night or Aria of Sorrow or any of the other Castlevanias.
I thought there'd be a short answer to that question. It turns out there's a very long answer to that question.
Should we answer this long question, or should people just go to the internet and read it for themselves?
They should. If you want me to tell you, I'm literally on the Wikipedia page. Just read it. But
summarize it.
The production of this Castlevania series had a long and tortuous path.
Much like all treks through Dracula's castle are long and tortuous.
There's no upside down castle yet.
Not yet.
This came out in 2017, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to read the first sentence of the summary of how this came to be, and you'll see why it's hard to summarize. Quote, in March of 2007...
10 years ago.
Frederator Studios acquired
the people who made Bravest Warriors.
Acquired the rights to produce an animated film adaptation specifically of Castlevania 3.
Why does this have anything to do with this current...
Because that is where this current thing came from.
It's not a completely brand new deal? Netflix picked up the old remains of this?
This literally... You know how hard it was for this to get made? It got stuck in development hell like twice.
All right, but anyway, so this Castlevania 3 animated adaptation looks a lot like what people would say is anime, even though we know there's no such thing as look like anime because anime comes in so many styles.
But it does evoke that, especially if you look at stills from it, that very specific feeling of late 80s and early to mid 90s violent OAVs.
Yes, it looks like Vampire Hunter D or Demon City or Ninja Scroll. It looks like those anime style. That's the visual style it has, right? But it is written by Warren Ellis, a credible, great writer, author of many works such as Transmetropolitan, Fell, Next World. What else has he written that's really good? Those are the big ones that I can think of.
Yep.
But Warren Ellis is usually, if you see his name on something, that means good writings are here. Read this comic.
And it was a pretty big international production involving a ton of different studios and production companies and people.
But not Japanese people, which is why it is not anime. But it doesn't matter if it's anime or not. It's an animated work, and I don't really give a shit about if it's anime or not.
Yep. Though I will say, while the stills so heavily evoke those 90s OAVs, as does the story and the violence.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this very specific and odd reaction. As soon as I was watching it, a few minutes in, I really was reminded of the way Aeon Flux was animated in terms of like the way the camera would move and the way the characters
You mean not a lot?
Yeah.
It doesn't move much.
And just the way the faces looked and the way the characters sort of looked past each other instead of at each other. So I got this really strong like Rain or Aeon Flux vibe just from that.
Yeah, and the dialogue is all that like very stilted, like only saying what needs to be said. Sort of feels like there's like a millisecond too much pause in between people talking to each other and responding.
I mean,
but the thing is, that's the way those '90s things like Ninja Scroll felt when they were dubbed.
If
but
this feels too slow compared to
this is
Vampire-
original English language. This isn't some Japanese thing that was right. This is.
But it feels like watching the dub of Vampire Hunter D.
Right. It's a little bit. The voice acting is a little bit better than that. There's like one of the voice actors is like a famous person, right? What's his name?
Richard Armitage.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, the voice acting's good. However, the script is a little bit. People say fucking piss a lot for just because.
Yeah.
Like it feels like the kind of language that some dubs of those old anime OAVs embellish.
But it's the original dialogue.
Yeah.
This isn't translated. This is the original deal.
However, I was reading this interview with the producer of Castlevania, and it's very telling what they drew from, because basically anime seems like the perfect medium for Castlevania. You mentioned Ghost in the Shell and Ninja Scroll and other interviews. What anime creatively informed this series? And the answer is, and I quote, Vampire Hunter D was an early reference.
Yeah.
Space Pirate Harlock for the use of color.
Oh.
Berserk as an example of what to do.
Oh, there's a lot of Berserk going on
and the
here.
CGI reboot as an example of what not to do.
Yep. Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of Berserk going on in this here show, for sure.
But I really liked it. I mean, we're going to talk about it in depth. It's only 4 episodes.
I'm not gonna. So it's 4 short episodes.
Just watch it.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not gonna say it's not great, right? But it's like if you have Netflix and you're a nerd and you like a vampire or you like anime or you like violence or you like, it's worth your 80 minutes of your life. Because it's not that long.
I enjoyed the hell out of it.
I didn't enjoy the hell out of it, but it was like, all right.
So the plot is basically.
If it wasn't Castlevania, it might have been like meh.
So Spike Spiegel.
I think the fact that it is Castlevania puts it over the from meh to aight.
Spike Spiegel, reincarnated as Trevor Belmont, meets a wizard girl, and they go into a dungeon to wake up Alan Shazar from Escaflowne to go fight Dracula.
Exactly.
That is the plot.
Well, the actual plot is that Dracula was being his usual self. His castle reappeared once every whatever number of years it is.
Dracula's a chill dude. Relatively.
Well, I mean, he's not super chill. He's an evil vampire dude, but he's not like destroying the world or anything, right? And then some lady comes to visit him because she heard that he's got mad science, which he does because he's like fucking immortal and he knows shit.
That beginning scene is, I think, my favorite scene.
And in the Dark Ages, people don't know shit, right?
Yeah, she shows up and she's like, the peasants are all dumb.
But Dracula's castle is like a fucking cave of wonders full of awesomeness. And she's like, she convinces Dracula, like, hey, let me have your science. And he's like, all right, you're hot. I'll go with it.
Yeah.
Because I'm still a dude, even though I'm an immortal dude.
Well, also, it was interesting because she shows up and she's clearly not afraid of him.
Because she doesn't know. She's a woman of science. She doesn't know that Dracula is all like vampire and shit. She just thinks he's a rich old, dude who lives in a castle full of science.
And that aspect of it is really interesting because there's like a big part of the plot is that vampires, because they're long-lived, have science. They have light bulbs and things.
Yep.
And it's cool how like Trevor Belmont remembers all the the knowledge of his family, and he talks a lot like, did you see those strange implements and blah blah blah?
Right.
That's the legend of what's inside Dracula's castle.
But the world is clearly in a dark age, has much lower technology than the vampires.
I mean, it's what 1400s.
Right.
People in Wallachia.
It's like towards the end of the Middle Ages in the United States.
Yeah.
In the real world, Europe. Right?
Now here's the real question: does Dracula's castle travel through time such that precursor technology is actually his future technology? Did vampires independently invent electricity and all this because they live a long time and they're bored? Or was there a
I thought it's live a long time and they're bored, because if it was time traveling, he'd have like, internet in his castle.
Or was there a precursor civilization and the memory of that is all that remains?
I also think part of it is that in the past there were times when Dracula's castle appeared, because it's reappeared so many times that there have been times when it's appeared that, you know, Dracula has had like, you know, huge armies or slaves or who knows what building things, right?
Yep.
It's like the castle was made at some point by a whole bunch of people that Dracula forced to build. He didn't build it by hand on his own, right?
But the very beginning of
you
this,
know, he was a king, right? He was a count, at least. He had people.
but it seems like in that initial little bit, because this whole backstory is like a minute of screen time,
Right.
just to set the stage. Because, and I'm glad they did it, because if you don't give some sort of reason, Dracula's just this like bad guy.
You mean like Symphony of the Night, where it's like, what is a man? A pile of secrets. Ha ha ha, I'm
Yep.
Dracula. All right, now try to kill me. It's like, go, go, go. It's like, what?
Yep.
I don't even know anything about you. It's like, all right, I guess I have to kill Dracula because he bad. He Dracula.
Yep. But from the first like 10 minutes of this show, Dracula kind of justified, not fully justified.
Right, so the issue, right, so what they do is they basically give Dracula a refrigerator reason for being evil, right?
Yep.
They take his wife.
They murdered his wife.
They murdered his wife, so now he's mad, right? It's the old fridge scenario.
Yep.
So it's like, all right, you have your reason, your
But also,
your trope reason, but
the church
Dracula
that murdered his wife, way more evil than Dracula.
right. The difference is that Dracula's vengeance, because he's so powerful, is way over the top. It's like, yeah, not only is he taking it out on the church, he's killing all humans.
No.
Kill all humans.
It implies that he's only going to kill all the humans in Wallachia.
That's pretty much all humans.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like there's anything outside of Wallachia in this show.
I mean, there has
That
to
might
be.
as well be the whole world.
'Cause, I mean, I don't know how closely the Castlevania world is set in the world,
Yeah.
but basically, he even gives them a sporting chance, though. He comes back, and he's like, I'm going to fucking kill you all in 1 year, so leave or make your peace. I'll be back. And the bishop's like, he's not coming back. And it's not really a spoiler, but there's this great
He comes
scene
back exactly when he said he would.
where the bishop is literally giving mass, and he's like, Dracula said almost 1 year ago to this very moment that he would come back and kill us in 1 year. And we're still alive. He didn't come back, and then the sky starts raining blood, and a whole bunch of Vampire Hunter D happens all at once.
And Dracula's like, here I am. I promised. I'm here. I listen. I was,
Yep.
I'm Dracula. I got time. A year for me is like a second.
And it
It's like-
basically
that's like, I'll be back in a minute, guys. I'm going to pee and come back. All right, here I am.
But it basically takes all the formal story that could be gleaned from Castlevania 3, takes those bits and pieces and gives them just enough interesting context to drive the story forward without ruminating too deeply on the details of the lore.
Yeah.
You get impressions like the Belmont family are all mysterious and have powers, and the shitty
Trevor's
humans,
the only one left.
and because the church turned on them too. The church basically fucked everything up in this
Well,
world.
that seems to what always that's another trope, right? Is like there's some good peoples, but they're like, their job is to fight the evil. But now the evil has been gone for so long that now they seem like crazy people.
Like the Mandate and the Prince of Nothing.
Exactly. It's the same exact thing. So basically the Mandate Belmonts here.
Actually, it's very close to that because the Belmonts, like the Speakers and the Vampire. So the Speakers, the Belmonts, and the Vampires all know how the world works and are smart.
And the
then
church and the
peasants-
regular people don't know shit.
The church is actively evil, and regular people are the dumbest beings who have ever existed.
Well, they're medieval peasants. They didn't
but
have
this
it's
show-
not, it's not fair to them. They didn't have opportunity for education.
That is true, but this
Do
show
you see
really
a single school in this show?
this show really goes out of its way to hammer into your head how dumb the normal people are in this world.
Right. I mean, well, the first thing is this science lady who comes to Dracula's castle, and she's like, yo, people in this world are really dumb. They won't listen to my science. If only I could science them, I could save them.
Yep.
Because they're all so
And
stupid.
Dracula's like, all right, science away.
Yeah. Everyone's so dumb
But
here.
there is a scene that, because the show is only 4 episodes, it's a high percentage of the total dialogue spoken, and it is a long debate about the logistics and punishments for sheep fucking.
Uh-huh.
And that scene, you think it's going to be a joke, And it just keeps going and going, and they're really talking about the sheep.
Is that the one in the tavern?
Yeah,
yeah.
With the really ugly guy, the less ugly guy, the stringy ugly guy, and the bartender who looks like the bartender from Cowboy Bebop.
The tavern scene, I think, only exists to introduce Trevor, right? He's the quiet guy.
I think it also exists to introduce the culture of those peasants.
Yeah, he's the quiet guy. It's all these tropes, right? He's the quiet guy sitting in the back of the tavern, not saying anything.
But he makes Spike Spiegel faces all the time.
Right,
and he acts like Spike Spiegel.
While the disgruntled peasants make a ruckus in there.
Yep. But he really, like, he'll almost, it doesn't really hurt the show, but sometimes he makes kind of a stereotypical anime face that doesn't really fit the rest of the way the face is usually drawn.
Yeah. But anyway, the highlight of the show for me is actually the action scenes, right?
Oh, so that sword fight?
The animation in most of the show is middling to average. There's a few times where it sort of looks kind of there's there's a little weirdness in the way things move during times when things don't move much. They move a little bit, they move weirdly, right? But when there's action scenes, they put in like super effort into them to where they're not quite as good as, like, say, the fight in episode 1 of Cowboy Bebop or something like that, where it's like majestically animated.
But they're close.
But it's still like a wow situation, like the one where he takes the dude's eyeball out.
Oh, that whip.
It's
you said something because you watched it before me. You were like,
I specifically remember this one part where it was a shot of Trevor and he was whipping, right?
Yep.
And it was showing basically him from his shoulders up, his arms and his head, and that was taking up the whole frame. And he was whipping, like, with both hands, whip, 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 right? Or it looked like he was whipping with both hands. It might have been one hand whipping back and forth. And I could tell that for like 1 second of animation, his whipping movement looped like 3 times. And I was like, how long are they going to loop this whipping animation? And then as soon as I thought that, at the speed of thought, it changed to a different whipping loop and then changed to a third different whipping loop. So normally someone doing cheapo animation would have had one loop of whipping.
No.
Right? They animated 3 different ways of whipping, right? For like 3 seconds, like whip, 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 and then a different whip, whip, whip. And I was like, oh, they actually, like, you could tell, like, ooh, it's visually interesting what is happening in this. He's just whipping. There's nothing happening in the story other than the guy getting whipped.
Too. Like there's a bunch of Vampire Hunter D things getting cut in half violence, but
like this same principle applies to all of the action scenes, where, like, especially when he's fighting Alucard.
Well, when he fights that dirt priest right away, and he whips to knock the dagger out of his hand, and then you see the dude's finger just like land next to the dagger, and you're like, ooh,
ooh, and then he makes a funny comment about the finger.
Yeah, he does,
if I remember correctly.
Then he whips the other guy's eye out, and he's like, well.
Yep. When he whipped the eyeball out, I was like, oh, Pai Mei stole your eyeball.
Yep.
Oh.
I think the best fight, though, was the Alan Shazar fight.
Yes.
Because the way Alucard moved was great.
Yeah, because, I mean,
his sword is appropriately weird and long.
He moves in a way that is appropriate for him to move, and he also floats around a lot, right?
Yep.
It's like, ooh, they didn't just make him, do boring stuff.
And I also like how it did
they made him as cool as he needs to be.
You know how Dune has the moment of there's a conflict that would be boring in any other thing, and then the characters just talk, and then the situation is resolved?
Yeah, he just talks to Alucard and it's resolved.
Yep. It's like, Alucard's like, I'm not Dracula.
I'm Alucard.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm the son of Dracula. Oh, and I want to kill him. Are you?
Yep.
I guess I'll believe you because you don't look like Dracula to me. And you're not killing me and biting me right now, which Dracula totally would. He would just kill us right now, so.
I don't know, he might not.
No.
It depends. I don't think we've personally pissed Dracula off.
I'm pretty sure if someone went to visit Dracula at that time when he was so pissed.
You don't visit Dracula right after the church murdered his wife. You gotta let him be.
Well, they're going to visit him. They're just going to visit him with, like, whips and crosses and holy. I like how also that's another thing. They usually, when you have something based on a video game, you sort of shoehorn the game mechanics into it.
Yep.
In an awkward and kind of bleh way.
Like a whip was probably the lowest hanging fruit.
Having a whip as his weapon, okay, right? But it's not like he didn't whip a wall and have a meat come out.
But like the Cyclops that was guarding Sypha, because that's in the game.
Right. That's perfectly fine. But the example was actually the holy waters in the game. It's not like it would have been lame if he hit a candle with his whip by accident and found a holy water behind it in a vial and then threw it at something.
Found some wall meat.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That would have been super lame, corny, hackneyed, and bad. Instead, what they did, he's like, there was a point at which he was like, you, priest man, go get water from the well and bless it and bring it back. And then he tossed it on something. And it's
there's that whole scene where
they
he's
worked in the holy water from the game to make it still Castlevania, but not in a way that's corny and video gamey, in a way that just makes sense. If you never played Castlevania, you wouldn't think anything of it. It wouldn't be awkward. Whereas if you hadn't played Castlevania and a dude hits a candle with his whip and holy water comes out, you're just like, what the fuck is this shit?
But it also draws from the fact that, like, in the story itself,
or a guy finds a meat in a wall of a house.
The Belmont family knows things. Their primary power is their knowledge and their bloodline, which hasn't really been gotten into yet.
Yep.
I don't know if it'll get into that. We'll see.
Castlevania Bloodlines.
See, get some Simon Belmont.
Oh yeah, the best one.
Yeah. Yeah, Simon might be the most powerful Belmont until the new era. I was reading.
Is Richter stronger?
I don't know.
I don't know enough about Castlevania lore. I just play Castlevania games. I haven't played all of them, but like I don't know the lore because I don't pay attention to that. I just kill Dracula every time and explore his castle.
I know
it's
the
way
lore.
Fun. For as evil as Dracula
I know the lore
is,
of the 3 I played as a kid when I was obsessed with this stuff, which were
even
1,
the
2,
ones
and 3.
I played on the DS, I don't know the lore of, and I played them.
Well, those I
know nothing about are like the GBA ones, which
Yeah.
I tried to play and couldn't, and just because of technology reasons couldn't get far
I am
enough.
confident you will not beat Castlevania 3. I never beat it in my whole life.
Really?
We were supposed to
How
stop
hard
playing
can it be?
All right, Scott, here's the thing.
Zelda too hard? I can do it.
Whenever the weather's bad, like in the next several, like whenever we feel like, let's both live stream ourselves playing Castlevania 3 and idly and just see who, like, if either one of us beats it. Because as a kid, I never beat it.
I mean, if I could use save states and cheat if I have to.
I won't use save states. That's too much cheating.
The thing is, when you die, you go back to the beginning, right?
It's a hard game. It's a real hard game.
It can't be that hard.
It's
beatable.
It is. I would say it's like 5 times harder than Castlevania 1.
I'll watch a speed run and copy it.
Oh yeah, I just watched a speed run of it, and Jesus, I think you do want to play the Japanese version. I think
I can beat the Super Nintendo one.
I think the Super Nintendo one, because you can dangle.
Dangling.
Way easy.
My favorite move, whip dangle.
I like the Super Nintendo one. I feel like Castlevania 3 is way, way harder. I usually tried to get Grant because I did better as Grant, I think, but Grant we'll see. He'll probably be in the second season. So yeah, if you enjoy ultra violence like Vampire Hunter,
if you like 90s violent animes, if you like vampires, if you like Castlevania, then I wouldn't pay for Netflix just for this. I would pay for Netflix for this and Little Witch Academia TV that I haven't watched yet.
Yeah, definitely.
But I wouldn't buy Netflix just for this. But if you have a Netflix, then this is probably worth your 80 minutes of your life. You know, while you're eating dinner or something.
And we literally watched it while we were eating dinner. And I will, because they already renewed. They're gonna do it's 3 parts. So 4 episode parts.
At the end of the 4th episode, it's not the end. It's definitely like, oh, okay, there's a lot more to do. It's almost like the first 4 episodes is really the intro.
Yep.
It doesn't even get into the meat of anything. You don't even go to Dracula's castle, which is the most disappointing part, because it's Castlevania. It's not Draculavania, right? It's like, I want to see castle action. I care about the castle more than I care about any of the characters.
I really want to see Alucard bust out, though, because he had the best dialogue, I think.
Yeah, I want to see them like go into like different rooms of the castle and fight all crazy different shit, like a room with floating books.
But that's it. If it keeps up at this
pace,
pace,
a room with like some, all the different crazy bosses within the castle.
There are only 8 more episodes.
I want to see them mess with the Frankenstein monster.
So 8 episodes at this pace will definitely be worth watching.
If I were them, what I would do is I would have them get to the castle in 1 episode, and then the remaining episode should be Monster of the Week within the castle, and then the final episode Dracula.
Now they hinted. It appears that the first one they tried to just be like set up the exact story of Castlevania 3, but they didn't commit to ending the way Castlevania 3 ends.
Well, I mean, Castlevania 3 ends. Congratulations, you were the winner.
You killed Dracula.
Good job.
So maybe they will. Maybe Dracula. We don't know how it'll actually end.
I'm pretty sure it'll end in such a way that gives you a nice closing and leaves it open to where they can make another series.
Yep.
Either based on another one of the games or directly continuing from this and making up some new stuff.
I would like to see them, because I like this enough to where as long as the next 8 episodes are as good as this, it'd be cool if they just started doing short vignette series like that from different eras of
right. Well, that's
the
that's the thing that's easy to do
timeline.
with Castlevania because Dracula's castle only appears once every whenever.
Yep.
So there isn't you don't have to follow continuity. You don't have to worry.
Well, you can make the continuity be like
the continuity
Leiji
is
Matsumoto style continuity.
right. There's so little connection between the different ones because there's so much time between them. It's like, all right, well, it's a new person named Belmont, and the only people that are still alive are like Alucard and Dracula. And Dracula's castle appeared. You have to kill him. Everything else is brand new every time. The castle changes every time.
Yep.
It's like, alrighty then. I guess you don't need to. And it's like, the vampire people are so old. They don't remember. They don't have to bring up anything that happened in a previous one. It doesn't even matter.
I feel like Simon's Quest could actually turn into a really good one.
Well, I think the problem with a lot of the first one and Simon's Quest is that there's not a lot of characters. It's pretty much a Simon on a lonely man quest. And it's really hard to turn the lonely person quest into any sort of TV or movie thing.
This one, Castlevania 3 specifically has the team up.
Yep.
Because we know there's going to be one more person on the team when they find Grant.
Right? That's why it's hard to make a Metroid movie because and you make a movie like Alien, you need to have all these people around Ripley to die. She doesn't just start out alone, right?
Yep. Of course, Castlevania 2 at least, he goes town to town. It could be like every town has its problem.
Yes, you can do that. But he's gonna you pick up friends, Cowboy Bebop style.
Yeah, but you could set it up to where he picks up friends and none of them make it to the next town. Like Kellis when he comes out of the north. Everywhere he goes, he picks people up in town and he's the only survivor at the next town.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'd do it.
Not bad.
But yeah,
and then terrible nights for curse having.
But no, this thing, it's really simple. It's really short. It's well done. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I think my mom would actually really like it. I
watched it with my mom. I guess she didn't tell me to turn it off.
Remember,
my mom loves vampires.
Is the one who suggested that I watch Vampire Hunter D when I was a kid.
My mom loves vampires more than
we
do. I only casually enjoy a vampire because I'm a nerd. I like a vampire. My mom fucking loves the vampire shit. She Anne Rice book reading.
I read Interview with the Vampire, and that's the only one that I read.
I didn't even read that one.
It was pretty good as a book. The movie was not great. The book was pretty good.
I tried to read the actual
book
Dracula.
Had some problems.
I tried to read the actual Dracula once, and I only got a few chapters in.
Yeah.
And then I read something else, and then I forgot that I was reading Dracula.
But, I mean, this is what I, as a kid, if you'd shown this to me when I was in 4th grade
I would have loved the shit out of it.
Instead of Vampire Hunter D, I would have been so obsessed with this. I would have dressed up as Trevor Belmont in Halloween. I would have gone, this would have been the center.
There was definitely a younger Scott who fucking loved the shit out of, say, Ninja Scroll.
Yep.
Who now is sort of man, Ninja Scroll.
But Vampire Hunter D, I still really enjoy, even though Vampire Hunter D, unlike this, doesn't actually have a conflict because Vampire Hunter D is the story of, oh no, there's a problem. How will D surmount it? D wins because he's more powerful. Oh no, they trapped D. What will he do? Uh-oh, D's actually more powerful than you thought. Oh no, here comes Dracula himself. Oh, D is actually more powerful than Dracula. The end. I feel like there'll be actual conflict in this.
Maybe.
I think that was a good show. I think we're done. Do the Patreon thing. We had 20-ish people watching the whole time, too. Oh, they can see my thing. There we go. Other thing. Patreon. Ba 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 da ba ba. Each town, the church. I like that. In each town, the church kills a member of Dracula's family. That would be perfect. All right, let's look at my list of patrons. Boop. Scott just turned over some badges to Emily for PAX. We're going to PAX. It's on. All right, let's record this because I'm really, really hungry. And the Patreon patrons for this episode of Geek Nights are Alan Joyce, Heidi McNichol, Amanda Duchette, and Thomas Hahn. MyStadia.com, William Eisenrose, Jeremy Miner, Life and Death and Love and Birth and Peace and War on the Planet Earth, a genuine bona fide electrified 6-car monorail, Nicholas Brandau, Captain Chinguakasi, Rebecca Dunn, The Terrible Secret of Space, 421 Creations. That's because we're fighting each other. Shervin Von Horrell, Rare Laval, James David White, Rochelle Montanona, Superboy. I paid $5 to make room say pickle. Sailor Vista, Matthew Smith, Don Schleich, Kajar Tavishan, Joshua Joestar, Sean Yeager, Sam Cordery, Clinton Walton, Ren from New Zealand, Ryan Perrin, Drew Openlander, Brian Cedrone, Finn, Chris Midkiff, Chris Knox, Daniel Redman, Sean Klein, Chris Reimer, and Thomas Hahn. Yeah, I really like Castlevania, and I hope it does well. Like I said, the Utena stuff is coming. We're getting our pipeline going again now that we're shifting some of our convention responsibilities, shall we say. But anyway, now I leave you with